She thought he was just another poor man with no future. What she didn't know was that she had just walked away from a hidden millionaire. The first time Emily met Jake, it was in the middle of a thunderstorm at a rundown gas station just off Route 9. Her car had stalled, her phone was dead, and her mood was as dark as the sky. He was inside, buying coffee in a plain grey hoodie, jeans dusty from work, and boots that had clearly seen better days. But he noticed her frustration through the rain-smeared glass and walked out without hesitation. "Need a hand?" he asked, holding up jumper cables. That moment, soaked and shivering, she smiled for the first time that day. She never imagined the man standing in the rain would one day become her husband, or that she would one day walk away from him without ever knowing who he truly was. Jake was quiet. Not shy, not awkward, just content. He didn't chase the spotlight, didn't flaunt, and never once tried to impress Emily with flashy dates or grand gestures. He took her fishing on their second date. On the third, he cooked her chili in his tiny kitchen, apologizing for the rusty stove, and strangely Emily fell for it, for him. There was something comforting about his steadiness. The way he listened without trying to fix her, the way his eyes met hers like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. It was the kind of simplicity that felt rare in a world obsessed with more. They got married a year later, in a small chapel under oak trees. Just 20 guests, and a vanilla sheet cake from a local bakery. No designer dress. No honeymoon, just vows written in notebooks and tears that felt real. Jake insisted on paying for everything himself. Emily didn't mind at the time. She was still drunk on the idea of real love, the kind that survives, without money. But that dream began to rust quickly under the weight of real life. Jake never talked about work. He told her he did contract jobs and consulting, but he always paid in cash and left before sunrise. Their apartment was clean but bare. Second-hand furniture, cracked tiles, a fridge that buzzed at night. Emily worked a front desk at a dentist's office, scrolling Instagram between appointments, watching girls she knew flash rings, resorts, Louis Vuitton bags. Every time she saw one, her throat tightened. She never said it out loud, but deep down, she was ashamed. Ashamed of the apartment, ashamed of the used Corolla, ashamed of Jake's worn flannel shirts. The resentment grew slowly, like mold behind a wall. She began to pick fights. Why don't we move to a better place? Why can't we go on vacations? Don't you want more out of life? Jake would always reply with calm, measured words, "We have enough." But that wasn't good enough for Emily. Not when the world screamed at her that she deserved more. More glitter, more comfort, more recognition, and worst of all, she began to listen to her friends. "You're wasting your best years," said one. "You sure he's not hiding something?" said another. "You could do better," whispered a third. The truth? She started believing them. It all snapped one Sunday afternoon. They were grocery shopping, and she saw a woman, perfectly dressed, heels clicking, pushing a cart full of organic foods, and a toddler in designer clothes. Her husband walked beside her wearing a Rolex, his arm gently resting around her shoulders. Emily stared at them like they were a movie she wanted to star in. That night she told Jake she wasn't happy. He looked at her, silent for what felt like an hour. Then he nodded. "If that's how you feel," he said quietly, "I won't stop you. No begging, no anger, no desperate, please stay. Just peace." And that made it worse. Emily left 2 days later, no drama. Just a packed suitcase and a kiss on the forehead that lingered like a goodbye from a ghost. She moved into a small apartment uptown with a friend and started fresh. Or so she thought. The first few weeks felt like freedom. She dyed her hair, went out with co-workers, laughed over cocktails, swiped on dating apps. But something felt hollow, Like the louder the world got, the more she missed the silence Jake used to fill. One rainy night, she saw him again, not in person but on TV. It was by accident. She was flipping through channels, trying to kill time while waiting for her. Nails to dry. The headline froze her heart. Tech billionaire Jake Weston donates $20 million to Veterans Housing Program. Her wine glass nearly slipped from her hand. There he was, in a tailored suit, standing at a podium beside a senator, smiling humbly. The anchor continued. Jake Weston, known for his secretive lifestyle and anonymous philanthropy, rarely makes public appearances. His companies, including one of the nation's fastest-growing defense tech firms, have made him one of the most private billionaires in America. Billionaire. Emily couldn't breathe. Heard Jake. The man who never bought her more than a $40 birthday dinner. The man who said, "We have enough." The man she had walked away from was a billionaire. She stayed up all night Googling. Article after article. Business blogs, financial forums, anonymous interviews, pieced together like a puzzle. Jake Weston had built a tech empire behind closed doors, hidden behind ghost LLCs, offshore accounts, silent partnerships. No one knew who he really was until that press conference. He had lived modestly on purpose, stayed hidden so the people around him would treat him normally. And the more she read, the sicker she felt. Photos from charity events. He had built schools in underprivileged areas, a shelter for abused women, funding for mental health research, and in one picture, a new wing in a children's hospital. Above the entrance, the Emily Hope Center. Her name. She broke down. He had named a hospital wing after her, even after she left, even after she doubted him, even after she made him feel like he wasn't enough. The next day she tried calling. No answer. She tried messaging. Nothing. She wrote a letter, poured everything into it. Her guilt, her sorrow, her disbelief, her love. She mailed it to the foundation address listed on one of the news articles, praying someone would hand it to him. A week passed. Then two. No reply. Finally, she received a package. No return address. Just her name. Inside was a single photograph. The gas station where they first met. On the back, in Jake's handwriting. You saw me that day before the world did. That's the part I wanted to keep. No anger, no resentment. Just a reminder of what could have been. Emily held the picture to her chest and cried for hours. Because now, the world finally knew who Jake Weston was. But she no longer did. Emily had always believed that regrets faded with time. But as the weeks turned into months, her regret only deepened like a wound that never stopped bleeding. Every billboard, every magazine cover, every whispered conversation about Jake Weston. In her office, break room drove the knife deeper. He wasn't just successful. He was iconic now, the name on everyone's lips, the man the world adored, and the secret she had once slept beside in a cold apartment with creaky floors and dollar store candles. She had walked away from a love most people prayed for, and there was no undoing it. She couldn't rewind time, couldn't unsay the words, couldn't repack the bag she had left him with. And now, he wasn't just out of reach. He was in another universe altogether. She tried to live. She really did. She went back to work, smiled when co-workers gossiped, even forced herself on a few meaningless dates. But nothing stuck. Every time a man spoke about his car, his watch, his bonus, all Emily heard was noise. They were loud in all the wrong ways. No one listened the way Jake did. No one remembered the way Jake did. No one was quiet and safe and endless like Jake had been. Her friends, once so confident she had escaped a dead-end life, now whispered awkwardly around her, unsure what to say. Even they knew now she hadn't left a poor man. She had left a man with enough wealth to reshape cities. And a heart that would have given it all to her if only she had stayed. One afternoon, scrolling mindlessly through her phone, she stumbled on a short video, a montage of Jake's philanthropic work. Music played softly under clips of him speaking, with war veterans, laughing with children in hospital beds, standing quietly as others applauded him. At the end of the video, a quote flashed on screen. "True love is invisible until it's gone." She couldn't tell if Jake had said it or if it had just been added for effect, but the words stabbed like truth. That night, unable to sleep, she took out the photo he had sent her, the gas station where it had all begun. She stared at his handwriting. "You saw me that day before the world did." That's the part I wanted to keep. Was that his way of saying goodbye? Of thanking her? Or was it a wall, a final silent, "do not return"? She needed to know. The next day, Emily took a cab across the city to the foundation office listed on one of Jake's charity websites. It was in a tall glass building, the kind with air conditioning that hummed like confidence. She walked through the revolving doors, her heart hammering. The receptionist looked up, her tone polite but firm. "Do you have an appointment?" "No," Emily said, voice barely steady. I'm trying to reach Jake Weston." The woman's expression didn't change. "Mr. Weston does not take unscheduled visitors." Emily swallowed hard. "Please, can I leave a note?" The receptionist hesitated, then handed her a notepad and pen. Emily sat in the corner of the waiting area, hand trembling, and wrote a single sentence. "If I was the only one who ever saw you before the world did, can you please see me again now?" She folded the note, wrote her number on the back, and handed it over. As she walked out, the weight of hopelessness clung to her shoulders. 3 weeks passed. No response. Until one Sunday morning, her phone rang, a number she didn't recognize. She hesitated, then answered. "Emily." His voice, calm, even, just like always. Her throat tightened. "Jake, I got your note," he said, cutting through her panic. "I wasn't sure if I should call." "I didn't know," she whispered. "I didn't know who you were. I didn't see. You saw me just fine," he interrupted gently. "That's what makes it harder." Silence. "I miss you," she said, voice cracking. "I miss who I was when I was with you." "I miss you too," Jake said. "But sometimes missing isn't enough." Emily closed her eyes. "Can we meet?" There was a pause. Then, "Tomorrow, 6 p.m. that same gas station, where it all began." The hours crawled. She spent the day like a teenager before prom, changing outfits, practicing what to say, wondering what he'd look like now. Would he still wear that plain grey hoodie? Would he look richer? Colder? At 5:58 she arrived. The gas station hadn't changed. Same flickering light over the pump, same dusty corner lot. And then she saw him, standing by the coffee machine inside. Hoodie, jeans, just like before. Their eyes met through the glass and the years between them melted away. He walked out slowly. "You made it," he said. "I wasn't sure you would," she replied. Jake looked at her, his eyes kind. "Emily, what is it that you're hoping for?" She didn't have a prepared answer, just the truth. "I don't want your money, I don't want your life, I want to know if the man who loved me still exists somewhere behind all this." Jake was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. "I never stopped being that man," he said, "but I had to bury him the day you walked away." Her heart shattered. "I didn't know. I was stupid. I thought you didn't want more. I thought you were hiding nothing when you were actually hiding everything." Jake smiled, bittersweet. "I wasn't hiding anything. I was protecting something. I wanted a love that saw me, not the zeros in my bank account. You were the closest I ever came to that." Tears blurred her vision. "Can I try again? Not, as the girl who left, but as the woman who finally understands." Jake took a breath, looked up at the sky, then back at her. "I don't know what tomorrow looks like," he said softly, "but if you're willing to walk back with me, I'll walk slow enough to let you catch up. Emily's chest filled with a strange mix of guilt, relief, and something like hope. And there, under the same broken neon light where it all began, they stood together again, not as rich man and regretful woman, but as two hearts trying to rewrite the ending they almost destroyed. Subscribe to The Other Side Story for more emotional and powerful twists. Don't miss what happens next. The truth always finds its way.